When you're sketching in colored ink, one thing I like to think about is how the first couple colors you work with function in the same way that they would function if you're using black ink, in that you want to think about the value of the color as opposed to the actual color that you see. And I also like to work using this guidebook from time to time because it gives me really interesting color combinations that I wouldn't think of. So for this, I want to work with that sort of teal color and then that very faint and kind of muted purple. So I'm going to mix first that green one, then the purple one, and I'm going to add a little water so that when it dries, it's not as opaque as it could be. And similarly to working with watercolor, there's a lot of factors that come into play. There's the amount of water you put down, there's the paper you work on, there's a lot of elements that come into play. So this is done using a Moleskine watercolor sketchbook, and I'm just drawing things out with a flat brush at this point. And I like working with a smaller flat brush like this because I can kind of get really defined lines and stronger edges. And like I said, I tend to think of these first lines almost as if they're in black and white. So even though this is kind of a, darker green with that purple below, I'm trying to just see these as if I was drawing in black and white. So these operate as the lines, they operate as something that indicates a little bit of value. And even though they might look like they clash at this point, I'm hoping that by the end I can try to unify things a bit. And you don't need much to indicate detail at first. One thing that helps is having really confident marks to begin with. So now I'm going to mix up an orange, just using some yellow and some red of the colored ink, and I'm going to kind of loosely add a few areas here and there where I know I want there to be warmer tones, specifically in the nose and in the ear, where there's a lot of blood on the figure, a little bit in the lips right there. And now let's operate with something a little wild. I want to do some cooler colors on the shaded side of the face. So this green, which clearly isn't a flesh tone color, I'm going to try and use it just for the value that it is. So I'm looking at it and thinking, well, this is kind of a grayer color, a little bit of a darker color in the spectrum of things. Maybe that'll work. And then as I do that, I'm going to add some more of that kind of muted green, which is mixed with the orange, a little bit of yellow to show the shadow that the glass is cast onto the face, and then using some of that same yellow in the hat up at the top here. And go back in with some violet to try and darken things on the clothes, redefine a few edges there with the dark green. If nothing else, these little color exercises in my sketchbook teach me what works and what doesn't.